Moving on, heavy regulations versus smart or less regulations. I think that we can touch on that a little bit further down when we get into the talks about government. But let's go into voter ID versus no voter ID. Right, the Democrats have been running on this false campaign that voter ID is somehow racist. What do you think about that?
Well, Carlos, it goes back to the point earlier that we were talking about how the radical Marxist left, they want to let all the illegal aliens pour into the border with no checkups because they want those votes since they're losing everybody and people are waking up to their failed policies and agenda. So yeah, obviously they want to have all the illegals vote without ID. They just want to show up, vote Democrat because those are the ones that brought them here, and they're counting on that. So, again, their lame excuse is that, these are hardworking illegal aliens that they also should have a voice. They're breaking the law. They're breaking the law. Again, they're here illegally, let in and abided by the Marxist Democrats. So they shouldn't even be voting in this process.
So
if anything, they should be trying to become legal migrants by going to the back of the line and going to the naturalization immigration process.
Correct.
That's what it should be focusing on. Correct. But again, the radical left, they want to go ahead and let everybody and anyone vote. It's such a hit in the heart and the patriotism of people that are here legally, of natural-born North Americans, that you have illegal aliens that they don't even know what's going on, politically speaking, and you want to let them vote?
Well,
that's not right. That's illegal. And again, in the Republican side, we are for voter ID. Anyone that votes should have a voter ID and should be a legal migrant or a naturalized U.S. citizen or natural-born U.S. citizen.
Listen,
that's it.
Voting is a constitutional right. And if you're illegal, if you're an illegal immigrant, you are by definition not an American citizen. You're not a U.S. citizen. Therefore, the Constitution does not apply to you. And what the left tries to do is they convolute human rights with constitutional rights. Those are two different things. We can treat you good when we got you captured or in the holding facilities and all through the court process, whatever the case may be. But you do not have the constitutional right to vote in our country and get to tell our country how it should be run or what laws it should be made if you are not a legal U.S. citizen of this country. Now, what's interesting is how the Democrats have played this, where they want it to seem like it's racist because, again, their go-to tactic is to make everything about race. So let's watch this video clip real quick about them doing that.
So I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
The Senate Judiciary and Rules Committees have started their work responding to the concerted nationwide attack on voting rights of millions of Americans that we haven't seen since the era of Jim Crow.
I do absolutely agree that it's racist. It is a redux of Jim Crow in a suit and tie.
Join me now.
So here they are. They're talking about the black community specifically and comparing it to Jim Crow, which is interestingly enough. Now, I can understand those talking points, not in that exact context, but as far as the racism card towards the Hispanic community, I can understand that. But how does that fit in the on the black community? That makes no sense to me. What are you telling me, that black people they don't have IDs? Because I think you need an ID to drive. You need an ID to buy things like alcohol or cigarettes. You need an ID to purchase guns. You need an ID to get on a plane. So what are they trying to say here? Is it fear-mongering? Are they being ignorant? Are they purposely lying to us?
In my opinion, they're purposely lying to us, Carlos. As we mentioned earlier, Democrats will find a racist, quote unquote, under a rock. Whenever they lose the argument, and that's many of them lately because of their failed policies that are not working and people are waking up to that, they just blame it on racism. That's their scapegoat to anything.
Yep.
When they lose an argument, that's their excuse. Oh, you're a bigot, you're a racist. So yeah, when it comes to that Jim Crow laws, no, that's not it. Democrats cannot lose.
Yep.
So since their narrative, their false narrative is falling apart, and people are waking up. They're just finding this lame excuses to point out that nobody's or most people are not voting for them. They're waking up to their lies, to their draconian approaches, to their lockdowns. They're sick and tired of Democrat policies. Look at Democrats, California, Illinois, New York, just to name a few. They're a disaster. And that's sad because those are North American states that we have sisters and brothers there from any side of the equation, Republicans and Democrats, and they're suffering under those policies. If any one of you in the audience takes 30 seconds to look up the top high crime cities in the United States right now, I bet you that 9 to 10 of them will be Democrat cities. It is very sad. So there's ideas that they're saying, it's ID and everything. No, that's false. People are just waking up and not voting Democrat, and they want to excuse it than saying that it is that there's voter suppression. That's what's going on. No, they just need to learn how to lose.
Yeah, we just want fair elections. We want to make sure that U.S. citizens are the only ones voting during our process. That's it, and that's why Republicans are for voter ID. Moving on, the next part is welfare state versus working class. I mean, the Democrats love for people to be dependent upon them, right? Because the more that they give you in handouts, the more of their loyalty they feel like you're going to have.
Certainly, Carlos. This reminds me when I used to live in Venezuela under Chavez. One of the ways that he bought a lot of the poor people in Venezuela, he bought them per se with a little bag of food. And milk just to earn their vote. So this brings me back to that. It's a comparison that the left, they push for welfare. They push for welfare. They want to incentivize people not to work during the pandemic. They went ahead and basically incentivized in Democrat cities by increasing unemployment funds. It's absolutely incredible. Instead of teaching the person how to hunt or fish and cook the fish, they just want to provide them with the fish and create dependency. It's not a good thing. Yeah, are there going to be some social programs to help out, for example, a single mom that might be in disability with 5 kids? Yeah, of course. There are going to be those outliers here and there in society, and even us in the right, we are for some of those programs if they're well managed and governed. But on our side, on the Republican side, we are for working class. We are for less welfare. We are for education, incentivizing even that single mom that might be disabled, give her opportunities maybe to work from home. For example, if her situation, requires that. There are ways around it instead of just creating this dependency that's going to create lazy people that barely can get out of the house, want to work, or those that are actually going to work that they have very, very poor working ethics, that they barely want to do anything at work. They feel entitled.
Let's be real. There are a lot of people that abuse the system. And what they do is they learn the system, they game the system because they know the system is gonna maintain them. And so what they do is, they don't want to be part of the 9 to 5, if you will, working class, right? Because it's better to stay home, doing nothing, watching shows, whatever the case may be, than actually having to work, right? Let me go have a 5th kid so I can get more food stamps or whatever the case may be, right? I know personal people that do that. When I lived up north, right, that they purposely game the system. And so we're not for that. We don't want to support that. Why do I have to work 40 hours a week while you just sit home and chill? That's not how it works.
Exactly, Carlos. I also know from personal accounts and people that I know that have told me that's what they do. It's absolutely incredible. I've had people tell me, no, Saul, you make more money not working by being maintained by the government, or for example, having lots of kids. So when tax season comes, they get more thousands of dollars. I mean, this is what you hit it right in the nail. It incentivizes fraud. It incentivizes laziness. it incentivizes dependency in the system. It's absolutely disgusting, Carlos. So just to wrap it up, yeah, us Republicans, we believe in working economy. We believe in less welfare. The radical Marxist Democrat left, they believe in more welfare. They want to maintain and keep their constituency dumbed down and lazy.
Yep. So let's go to the next segment, and we can actually take the next three lines together. Lockdown, big government, and more control or mandates on the left. And then, working economy, small government, and less control on the right. We saw that since 2020, where, these blue states were locking down. Big government was in there. Hey, if you don't get the jab, then you can't work. You can't go to restaurants. You can't go to concerts. You need it in order for you to live a regular life. And if you don't do it, we're going to shut you down. We're going to interrupt your livelihood. We're going to fire you, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, how many companies went along with the mandate that Biden put in after saying that he wasn't going to do it, and fired their employees for not getting jabbed?
Carlos and audience, if you guys want the definition of discrimination, that's it. If you want the antonym of what the United States stands for, freedom, liberty, personal choice, they went all against that. They violated so many constitutional laws, so many state laws, so many federal laws. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting and draconian, and it's hard to see how some of our friends, that cheer for the left, they're Democrats, they didn't see that. Nope. They didn't see this. Instead, they went along with it. All over the country, but mainly blue states, they absolutely violated laws all over the place by creating these illegal mandates, forcing people to wear the diaper face, the face diapers, the mask, the useless mask, to get the jab, even though they were having a lot of different results and variations. Absolutely disheartening. So us in the Republican side, we are for smaller government, less control mandates, less regulations, and that shows you how, we are for a working economy. Florida, the great state of Florida with Ron DeSantis, the state stayed pretty much open during the entire pandemic, and the state was thriving. The state was open. Everybody was having the freedom, even though some leftist counties like Hillsborough County were violating the laws by Kathy Castor, the mayor, a radical leftist Kathy Castor, trying to push mask mandates, trying to lock down places, trying to have curfews. I mean, she's just an example, but she violated multiple state laws, multiple federal law. But again, Carlos and audience, I can tell you this by my own account. When I was going to the beach, relaxing, meeting people from leftist states like New York, California, Illinois, that they were coming to Florida looking for freedom because they were sick and tired of this illegal anti-constitutional mandates and lockdowns in their states, in their home states. So that just shows you how draconian, how controlling the radical Marxist left can be.
Well, here's two things that I want to point out. Number one, remember how they were trying to paint Governor DeSantis? They were calling Death Santis and trying to bring up this false narrative of how, Florida had uncontrolled COVID deaths and so on and so forth. But they completely overlooked what was happening in New York with Andrew Cuomo. So, and we can see a year later where the two governors are at. One is disgraced, accused of sexual misconduct, while the other one's riding high, talking about a potential presidential run at some time in the future, right? So that's number one. The second thing I wanted to point out was our Instagram princess, AOC, while supporting those draconian laws up there in New York, came down here last year in spring break and was completely maskless. Now, if you believe that this virus was as deadly as it was and as serious as it was, you should mask up no matter where you go, no matter what the laws are. But that's not what she did. She came down here maskless, having drinks and so on and so forth down in South Beach. And I think you were in that area around that time, if I'm not mistaken.
You got it correctly. Remember, Carlos, and an audience, I was actually in South Beach at that time for New Year's Eve around December 30th and 31st of 2021. And I was actually proactively walking around trying to see. I saw Miss Instagram model, Miss AOC, IG Princess. She was there walking around talking to drag queens in Ocean Drive, maskless, completely enjoying the freedom of MAGA Florida that she had complained about, and hypocritically, talked about Florida. I mean, absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how her constituency up in New York, Democrats overall, they don't see those, the hypocrisy by some of these Democrat leaders, quote unquote, that, while her constituency was being forced to be masked up in New York in the cold in December and mandated to take the jab, she was enjoying pina coladas down in South Beach, maskless, enjoying heat. Wow.
Unbelievable.
AOC, must be a hard life.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next one. I'm not sure if I agree with this in these particular categories. I know I am personally, and I think you are as well, but I don't think that maybe by the political leaders at the very least that they're for this, because obviously it would diminish their power. But supposedly Democrats are against term limits and Republicans favor term limits. Again, I don't know if I think from an individual voter, I think both parties may align here. I don't know. And I think for both parties, from political leadership, they would be against it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ted Cruz attempted twice to present the bill to bring in term limits. Whether he was legitimate, like sincere with that or not, I don't know, because you bring something like that and it's going to go down. So I don't know, but I don't think I agree with this classification. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts personally is the fact that, yes, I am for term limits. It is always that the radical Marxist left, the Democrats in power, they don't want term limits. I mean, if you look at it, you have, people in power like Nancy Pelosi, who's been there since JFK. I mean, just a dinosaur. I mean, ageless. And obviously, not only her memory displays that, but physically as well. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
Not to make fun of her in that sense, but again, this is a person that has become rich and become a millionaire on a, $175,000 a year salary, maybe at her level, maybe 250,000, and she's worth millions of dollars. Her and her husband. I wonder if any insider trading might be going on there. Who knows?
The height of corruption.
But yeah, it's definitely corruption. They're definitely there for the long run, and also some rhinos, some Republicans in name only. They don't want term limits.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell, some of these characters that have been there forever, they haven't done anything for the Republican cause, if you think about it. But a lot of Republicans that are fresh-minded, more the pro-MAGA, pro-Liberty America First movement, they are pushing, they're favoring term limits, Carlos and audience, because, again, we have to take some of these people out, politically speaking, with their terms. That's what I meant. Like Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, they need to be removed, put a new, even if it's in a Democrat side, you guys in the Democrat Party, you should be also pushing this, in my opinion, because you want fresh minds in there. If you told me, Saul, you're going to substitute Miss Maxine Waters with a Black American that's younger, that has fresh ideas, he knows how to use social media, I will tell you, and you Democrat, you also should be pushing for that as well.
Yep.
Even in super radical leftist liberal San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi's district, are you not going to tell me that a lot of the liberals there and Democrats, even in the younger crowd, that they don't want someone there that's fresh like them with new ideas, somebody that hasn't been there since JFK? Yeah, even liberals and Democrats, you guys should be pushing for that when it comes to your party. So that's why us in the right, Republicans, we do favor term limits.
Yep. I think we could find a lot of common ground on this particular subject matter, not only with Democrats, but also with libertarians and independents.
Yeah. And independents as well. Yeah,
Yep.
right on.
Yep. All right, moving on to the next one, which you're familiar with, socialism and then capitalism, right? Now, here's the interesting part. Some Democrats are going to tell you, no, we're not for socialism. And I do believe that the majority of the Democratic Party is not for socialism, but they have been overtaken by these left-wing radicals. And I do believe that a lot of them have become socialist supporters. We've got Bernie Sanders, and you've got AOC, and I think there's one more. I don't know if she's a congresswoman in Seattle or something like that. But you've got at least 3 known socialists on the Democratic side. Now, here's the interesting part. If you look at how 2016 election played out and how the 2020 election played out, Bernie Sanders, in my personal opinion and based on my observation, the elections were taken away from him. He was right there gaining a lot of popularity against Hillary Clinton, but because the Democrats thought that Hillary Clinton had the best chance of winning against Donald Trump, they chose her and they swept him out of their elections, right? Likewise happened in 2020. Prior to Super Tuesday, he was in the lead. Then Biden was in second and Buttigieg was in a close third. Interestingly enough, a lot of the Democrats, minus, if I'm not mistaken, Elizabeth Warren, all pretty much quit right before Super Tuesday, including Pete Buttigieg, which was in third place. Now, let me ask you this, Saul. If you're in third place in something and in a close third place, are you going to quit and drop out willy-nilly just because? No. I know I wouldn't.
No, not at all, Carlos. Yeah, I mean, you continue the fight. You continue until the fat lady sings, per se. So
correct.
It's absolutely incredible and hypocritical how back in 2016, in my opinion, and this can be backed up by a lot of factual research that you, the audience, can do, but Bernie Sanders had his DNC, stolen.
Yeah.
He beat Hillary Clinton, and it's absolutely incredible to see how the left just remained silent because the whole system and the whole rig complex was behind Hillary, and you all know what that means. But the whole system was behind corrupt Hillary Clinton, and but yeah, she stole Bernie Sanders, who rightfully earned that DNC ticket, and he had a lot of movement.
He had a lot of movement. Now, remember during one of their debates, they were feeding her, and I can't remember, Donna Brazil or something like that.
Donna Brazil.
They were feeding Hillary the question so she knew how to answer it. Again, it was showing complete favoritism towards one candidate. And you're right, the Democrats didn't say anything, but even more importantly, Sanders didn't say anything. He kind of just laid down during that election and let them take Hillary to basically the election. Now, what was interesting in 2020 was that during Super Tuesday, all those people dropped out. And then when Super Tuesday came about, who took over first place? Joe Biden. And he went on and obviously got elected, right? So that was in 2 separate occasions where the election was taken from Sanders on their side of the spectrum.
Right on, Carlos. I mean, you hit all the points accordingly, and it just shows you how rigged, how criminal the Democratic Party is, in my opinion, because even between themselves, they've stolen elections and nobody says anything. I don't know, who knows? Most likely Bernie was a blackmail or a compromise. He didn't say anything, but it was I wouldn't say hilarious because these are brothers and sisters too that are American voters, but it's sad how the Bernie bros and everybody that supported Bernie, they just went along with it. Yep. Nobody protested peacefully or anything. They just went ahead and tried to get behind Hillary because the whole rigged complex system was behind her, to the point, like you mentioned, like Donna Brazil feeding her questions. It just goes up to show you what we talked about in other segments, how the rigged media like CNN or the Clown News Network that they are, or the Clinton News Network, how they're one arm with the Democratic Party. Yep. Absolutely disgusting. Imagine if Fox News would have fed Trump questions in advance. Do you think the left would have been mad about that, Carlos?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Real quick, one last point. You mentioned it about it's mainly radical segments of the left that are pushing socialism. Yeah, so the squad, who we all know is composed of Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, and Cory Bush. I mean, these 5 absolutely self-proclaimed socialists, a radical leftist Marxists, they are pushing socialism. They're the ones that are right there with Bernie and the Bernie bro crowd pushing the socialism. They have actually praised my home country of Venezuela, saying that they wish the United States of America had an economy or an economic system like Venezuela. It's on video. So it's absolutely disgusting how the left wants to continue pushing this and instilling this in the little kids in the indoctrination camps known as colleges and schools, public schools. It's very saddening and scary. That's why us in the right, in the Republicans, we push nothing but capitalism.
Free market.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And what's interesting is, you mentioned how, in the time of Chavez and how he took guns away and so on and so forth. There's a lot of similarities, in the handouts that you had mentioned. A lot of these things that you tell me from your personal experience of your home country is exactly what I heard from my mom in her home country of Cuba and how it started. And we know that there's a connection between Cuba and Venezuela because the Castros had influence and had a friendship with Chavez, and that's how Chavez started to go down that road. And we know that basically socialism is just a step away from communism, right? Because once the government is able to take things away from you, they don't stop there. There's nothing there then to prevent them from going on and taking more. It's exactly what happened in Cuba. My family's houses were taken away, businesses were destroyed. My mom and my aunts and my uncles with guns at their heads, told to leave and so on and so forth. So we're not for any of that. We've seen historically socialism fail. We've seen historically communism is not good. We don't want that here. We want freedom. We want capitalism. We want constitutionalism, right? Our constitution is what separates us from every other nation and every other kingdom. And it's one of the reasons why we're so great.
Amen to that, Carlos. And it's absolutely key to showcase that you're right. Everything starts, and I lived in and saw it in Venezuela. And even after I moved from Venezuela to the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, I saw it by keeping always in contact with family and friends and being up to date with the news. But yeah, it went from socialism to communism, and it's in the edge borderline right now, becoming a totalitarianism. So, it could any country could be from socialist to communist to totalitarian. It could happen like that, like North Korea or communist China, which is absolutely draconian. But yes, us in the right, we're for capitalism, conservatism, and constitutionalism.
Yep.
Moving on to the next topic, Carlos and the audience, we are going to show the difference that when it comes to political correctness. We know that political correctness comes from the left.
Yes.
They come from Democrats. They are so woke or woke wannabe or trying to be woke that they are ruining things with this political correctness. Whereas us in the right, we're for free speech. Elaborate more on that, Carlos.
Yeah, so what they're trying to do is, like I said, they're trying to change certain words to have certain meaning. For instance, you cannot say woman anymore because apparently they can't define what a woman is. So what they do is to not assume genders, they use like these gender neutral pronouns, which is just utter garbage. It's so phony and fake.
Non-binary, it's absolutely insanity.
Yeah, and it goes back to the mental disorder thing that I talked about, but we'll get into that. They want to pin free speech as hate speech. So if you talk against some type of a subject matter and it doesn't align with their view, then you're full of hate speech and they want to shut you down and so on and so forth. Listen, I am a minority. Even though I'm an American, I am Hispanic by roots, and I am still considered a minority, unfortunately, in this country. If someone were to say something racist to me, guess what? They have the freedom of speech to say that. I don't like it, but what can I do? it's not illegal, right? For them, for somebody to come up to me and call me like whatever derogatory, and I've had that. Somebody's called me a spick one time. Oh well, so okay, great, good for you. You know, you know what? But at the end of the day, it's that freedom, the person's freedom to say it. It is what it is. And what they want to do now is, let's not even go to the extreme of using a racial slur. If you just call somebody a man or a woman, well, that's hate speech now, because now you're assuming gender roles and you're not being affirmative to other non-binary. I don't even understand that garbage, to be quite honest with you. And I call it garbage because it's made up stuff. It's men and women. That's it.
Correct, Carlos. You know, there are only two genders. That's it. So this is all a situation, an initiative done on purpose to disrupt or break our social norms, or or social cultures, or the nucleus of the family. Going after us that question things. I mean, look what's happening to Alex. We know Alex Jones by questioning the events at Sandy Hook. Now they're putting him as a demon, as someone who's the worst person in the world, when he just questioned the official narrative, which we all know it seemed very, very odd, and there are still many questions that have not been answered. But it's all about shutting us down. They don't want anybody to challenge their narrative. They don't want anybody exposing the truth. Even here in our new podcast, we recently got a complaint on our video taken down for something that it's out on the internet, that an actual national news network showed, and it's out there, and we just shared it, and things like that. It's all about censorship. The left, the Marxist radical left, it's about censorship, shutting us down. They don't want the truth or any other counterpoint that challenges their narrative.
No.
If you don't think like them or say what they want to say, they're going to cancel you. They're going to shut you down, and this is not good.
Yep.
Because this is going to lead to things in the future that let's just say that they're occurring in Germany back in the 40s.
Yeah, here the funny part is you're right. Censorship is a big deal in our time right now, right? With the internet being the way that it is, and these tech giants feeling like they have absolute control is tyrannical. Because if you're not saying anything wrong, anything bad, you should not be censored. And people cannot talk about the events that took place on the 6th of this year, of the first month. You cannot freely talk about that. You cannot question it. You cannot show things that challenge the narrative of what you're being fed, because you'll get censored. Your video will get taken down. You may be deemed, Putin stooge, and suddenly you're unpatriotic, and so on and so forth. In 2020, you could not challenge anything that was said that would go against the C-19. There were doctors that were coming on saying, we have other evidence, we have other alternatives, we have other data, we want to show it. Those people were censored. Some of those people's medical licenses were taken away. Some of those doctors were being fired. People, unfortunately, died because everything became so political, and it's so sad. It's so sad. I used to trust the medical industry blindly. I used to say, you know what, they're the doctor, they know. And ever since 2020, now I have to understand a doctor's political stance before I go see that doctor, because I want to make sure that they're not giving me what the narrative is. I want somebody who gives me truth and science, not narratives.
Exactly, Carlos. And just to piggyback from your point, it's not only sad, it's criminal. What they did, it's criminal. What this leftist, Marxist social media giants like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all this, what they did is criminal.
Yep.
By hiding the truth and allowing people to possibly, have reactions to the C-19 or any narrative challenge from the other side, it's criminal. It's anti-constitutional, absolutely disgusting, and they should be ashamed of themselves. That's why us in the right, we are for free speech. We want to hear your point, even if we don't agree politically or anything or on social things. Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's try to meet halfway. And listen, if we don't agree, which nowadays things are very polarized. Unfortunately, let's just shake hands and say, hey, we agree to disagree, like in the old times.
Nope, can't do that anymore.
This whole political correctness and trying to call names and getting offended by something. No, that's not good. This is America. This is the land of the free, the home of the brave. Many of us, left communist countries or socialist countries because of reasons like this, of things that you're pushing, censoring speech, communism, socialism, draconian measures and lockdowns, medical mandates that they challenge your personal choice. That is not what the United States of America is about. So for some of our friends on the left, you need to think and consider those things. That's our suggestion.
Yep.
And with that, again, we'll move to the next point. But yeah, you have some finalizing points, Carlos?
Oh no, I was just gonna confirm what you said. That if you don't agree with them, they'll call you. You're a racist. You're a homophobe. You're a transphobe. You're whatever name and insult they want to put on you just because you disagree with them and you don't see their way. But that could be further from the truth. Just because I have a different position doesn't mean that I am whatever label you want to put me into, right? That just defeats the conversation. It doesn't allow for actual discourse to take place.
Definitely. It's absolutely concerning how the left is so draconian when it comes to political correctness and putting the freedom of speech, cancel and censoring people on the other side just because it doesn't go along with their narrative. Yep. They should definitely look into that and stop doing that. Yep. It's not legal and it's not right. Good for human. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then the next two topics, we can kind of put those under, the things that we talked about as far as defunding the police and gun control and less government, right? We're talking about anarchy. We saw that in 2020, how, a lot of political leaders supported these, what they would call mostly peaceful protests, right? When that's not what they were. They were riots. Cities were on fire. Things were burning. People were dying. Innocent people were dying, right? Police officers, civilians, etc. People were being beat down. We saw numerous amounts of videos of people getting hurt just randomly. Somebody would come in and punch them or kick them or hurt them or whatever the case may be. And the left supported that because why? Because it made Donald Trump look bad. It made Donald Trump less of a leader. They just supported all types of things, and they did not support law and order, which is where the defund the police movement came from.
Exactly, Carlos. It's very, very frightening to see how the left supported, encouraged anarchy back in the BLM and Antifa riots of 2020, what they call mostly peaceful protests. No, they were not. They were riots. They were destroying cities, burning things, kicking, hitting, even killing Trump supporters at that moment, unfortunately, police officers. It was absolutely a reckoning of the country and different cities. Again, all this pushed by a false narrative of a criminal that was drugged up, and it was in an unfortunate incident with a cop. So to see the left pushing this anarchy and tyrannical government overreach, it's out of control. It's sad to see how our friends in the Democrat side of the equation, they are either putting a blind eye to this or actually supporting it. It's not too late to stop this, to change the route of where we're going to go moving forward as a country. That's why us in the right, on the Republican side of the equation, we are for law and order and for free republic. Again, we're not going to allow all this lawlessness to continue. We want to be able to have good police departments that will defend its citizens, that will not allow all these rioters to just burn cities in the name of social justice warriors or these SJWs, we need law and order in this country. That's why us in the MAGA movement, in the pro-America, liberty and America first movement, that's what we're for. We're pro-police, pro-law and order, and for free republic. We should be able to be like in certain states like Indiana, open carry. If you own a gun and you are legally a gun owner, lawfully, you pay your taxes, and you want to have your concealed item, your concealed gun, you should be able to.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. We're for all these things. So, audience, we hope that even though this list was a little bit lengthy, it gives you a base understanding of the differences between the two parties. To be honest with you, when I was young, Saul, I didn't know this stuff. I just knew that there was Republicans and Democrats, and I had no idea what they stood for. And I was told that Democrats are for minorities and Republicans are for whites, and they're racist. So I kind of grew up with that understanding. And as I became an adult and as I discovered the world and how it really functioned, I saw that that was not the truth. So I never took that blue pill. And so hopefully this video will help people understand the differences and be able to align themselves what their personal beliefs are with the parties that they have here.
Very well said, Carlos. I couldn't concur more with you. Audience, this is a time where it's crucial to be knowledgeable, to educate yourself. Just don't go by the narrative that you hear, in the news, or those headlines that you see at the bottom that just go by in 5-10 seconds. Do your research. We're in the age of information. When you have, a library in your hand with your cell phone or your laptop or your desktop, or even your smartwatch, where you could do a quick search and look at different opinions, the different sources, educate yourself. But yeah, these are key differentiators when it comes to the Democrats and Republicans. Again, we're not trying to persuade you to join either or, but we're showing the differences. We are telling you our opinions. As you know, we are pro-MAGA, we're Republicans, conservatives, and most importantly, the pro-liberty and America First agenda movement.
Yep.
We're patriots. We're just trying here to create awareness and information. So any questions, let us know. It was a pleasure speaking with you, audience, and showing you the differences between Democrats and Republicans in this current state where we are right now in 2022. My name is Jose. And until next time, fellow patriots, see you. God bless. And let's go, Brandon.